Good morning. It is Friday morning and I am just about to head off to work, but I wanted to come on and do a really quick intro because I'm going to film an autumnal reading vlog this weekend. I have got to pick up my book club's book, which is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I'm having to read it on my Kindle because getting a physical copy of this book has proven incredibly difficult. I did actually order a copy. In fact, I ordered it twice and both times the order got cancelled, so now I'm having to read it on my Kindle, which is fine, although it cost me as much as a physical copy of the book would have cost me, so a little bit resentful of that. So yeah, I've got to read this, which is a dual timeline story about a woman who goes missing in the 1980s while she's working at the Sundown Motel, and then in the late 2000s her niece, I think it is, her daughter, her niece, goes to the Sundown Motel to try and find out what happened to her aunt. I feel like it has the potential to be quite spooky and creepy. Not good with those things, so that's why I'm going to read it over the weekend so that I can perhaps do most of my reading when all the lights are on and it's light outside and I'm not in the house on my own because I am a grade A wuss. So yeah, looking forward to that. My parents are actually coming to visit this weekend, so quite excited about that as well. We're going to go pumpkin picking tomorrow. I will try and get some reading done. My parents are quite chilled out people, so she'll be able to get some reading done. And then Meg has got a karaoke Halloween party on Sunday, so we do actually have quite a lot going on, but I am hopeful that I can at least start this, if not finish it. For now, I'm going to work. I will check in with you when I have done some reading. It's Saturday morning, just waiting for my parents to arrive, and then we're going to go and do some fun things. But I wanted to give you a reading update because I'm about 50 pages into Sundown Motel now, and not sure if I'm going to be able to read this once it goes dark. So we're reading from two perspectives. We have the story of Viv, who is the woman who goes missing in 1982, and then we're also reading from the point of view of her niece Carly in 2017, and Carly is going back to Fell where her aunt went missing to try and find out what happened basically, but there is some kind of supernatural thing at play in the motel. So Viv, when we've been reading from her perspective, she has already experienced some odd things taking place in the hotel, like all the lights going off, and she thinks that she's seeing things. I don't know how much of the story is going to be based around these ghosts or this supernatural element, and how much is just going to be the mystery of what went on with Carly's aunt. And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to read it once it's gone dark. I genuinely don't know how creepy it's going to be. I guess we'll see, but yeah, enjoying it so far. I like the mystery element. I like that we're gonna find out what has happened, and it seems like maybe there is a history in the area of things like this happening, so we will see. Just back from the pumpkin patch. It turned out to be the most beautiful autumnal day. The sky was blue, it was mild but quite crisp. It just was the perfect combination and the perfect day to do it, so really pleased with that. Although I did get stabbed in the thumb by the stalk of a pumpkin because I did not realise that they were prickly, and I just went to grab one. So yeah, just had a really good time in terms of reading. Not too much has happened since I last updated you. Carly has gone back to Fell. She's found the apartment where her aunt used to live, and she's met a woman living there called Heather, a young woman living there called Heather, who also has an interest in the darker side of things in Fell. So that's obviously going to be an important connection. And then we're also discovering that there are some other women in the area who were murdered, and the suggestion is, are these somehow all connected? Although obviously Viv went missing rather than was murdered, or was it just that her body was never found, etc, etc. So we're beginning to see more of the mystery element as well. So yeah, enjoying it. We're just about to head out for something to eat now. I'll try and do some reading this evening, and I'll let you know how I get on. I'm not enjoying the ghost supernatural element of this book at all. It's dark, it's stormy, I'm on my own. I feel like at any minute something is going to come slithering under the duvet and just grab hold of me, and it's full on giving me the creeps. Really not a fan of ghost stories at all. What is fast becoming one of my #1 bugbears when I'm reading are inconsistencies in the story. I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but basically they're doing some more Carly and Heather are doing some more research, obviously, to try and find out what has happened to Viv, and they're looking up a specific person. There were some cars in the car park, and they're looking up who that person is. And Heather rings Carly and she says, I'll omit the names so that it's not spoilery for anybody, but it says, let me get to the right page. Whoop. I mean nothing, Heather said. There's a mention of this person winning a high school high jump contest in 1964, and that's it. I have no idea if it's even the right person. Not a page later, she says, so here goes. The Thunderbird in the photos belonged to none other than this person, high school high jump star. So you do know that it's that person, because you're literally now telling Carly that it's the same person. Meg is having a Halloween karaoke pod party with some of her friends. I don't know if you can hear it. It's not quite singing. I don't really know what it is. It's quite intense. But she seems to be having a good time, so all good, all good. I haven't given you an update on Sundown Motel because there's not really an update to give. It just kind of is what it is. We've got the mystery element. The supernatural element has sort of died off a little bit now as we get caught up in the mystery side of what happened to Viv. We obviously have still got the flashback, so we're still following Viv's story, but she's kind of caught up in her own mystery as well around what happened to these other women. So yeah, the supernatural element has died off a little bit, which personally suits me just fine, but I can see how if you went in expecting a ghost story, this might now be something that would bug you a little bit. But for me personally, because I was getting super creeped out by it, quite pleased that it has kind of gone off a little bit. But yeah, this may end up being a really short vlog because there's not actually that much that I can say about the book. It is what it is, and I'm flying through it and enjoying it, but yeah, nothing to report really. This is what we are going to make, right?
Yes.
Chocolate Halloween
Ghosts
bark.
Wolf.
To break the chocolate into the bowl here, Are your hands clean?
So basically I picked it up in midfield. It was quite cool actually what I did, I thought. I kind of just took a touch on my left like that and then kind of volleyed it. Oh, look at that handsome guy on the screen.
I don't want to spoil anything, but it is all kicking off. I am 255 pages in now, and we're beginning to find out what is really going on, and I am quite enjoying it. I think I mentioned in one of the earlier clips that the ghost supernatural element is not quite as pronounced within the story as I thought initially it was going to be. The setup and the introduction to the hauntings and the ghosts and their presence at the motel was really pronounced, and it was really quite creepy to begin with, and I thought that the story was going to go in a much different direction to the one that it appears to have gone in, rather than the ghosts being violent in some way or super creepy and like haunting. It's much more like they're disgruntled presences who are stuck in the motel. It reminds me a lot of the BBC TV show Ghosts, which I have just recently started watching after my sister recommended it to me, and it's sort of the same thing. They're like trapped within the motel. Various things happened to them, but they're sort of stuck there rather than they're an ominous presence. They are an ominous presence and it is quite creepy in places, but it isn't, there's no horror element to it, which I think is what I was nervous about to begin with, because that's not the type of book that I would enjoy reading necessarily. So yeah, I think that some people would be disappointed by that, but for me it was something of a relief. So we've got that, and we're kind of now uncovering what happened to Viv. I would say I have a few observations. I'm 78% of the way through, which is very specific, but because I'm on my Kindle I actually happen to know how far I am into the book. So yeah, I'm almost 80% of the way through, and I do have some observations. I think, again, I said earlier that I was finding the voices of Carly and Viv to be really similar, and that has remained the same all the way through, largely because they're doing the same things, like the exact same things, which I get, but also it makes the story a little bit samey. There are also quite a few plot points of convenience, you know, her turning up and finding that there was this girl in the apartment where her aunt used to live, and she also has an interest in the macabre and unsolved mysteries and that kind of thing. Very convenient. But there are also a couple of like bizarre things going on. So there's this weird, I don't really know how to describe it. So Carly meets a couple of men while she's investigating what has happened to her aunt, and the way that it is described and the way that she interacts with them, there is, I don't want to say there's a sexual tension, because there isn't, but the author is trying to insinuate that there is, but it feels very targeted on the behalf of Carly, like she's only really interacting with them because she finds them attractive, and every time they're described she's talking about their physicality and their physical aspects and how rugged they are and how nice their clothes are and how they look really good, and it's not anything beyond that. And then a couple of chapters before where I am now, Carly is having this internal monologue about one of the men, Nick, and she references, oh, that's not going to go down well with my art of seduction or something like that. But at no point before that have we been told that she's trying to seduce this man, or why she's trying to seduce this man, or any inclination that there is some kind of, as I say, sexual tension between the two of them. It's just very one-sided and weird from Carly's point of view. She's almost like this little innocent virgin person who's like, oh, I'm trapped in a room with a man, what am I going to do? And it's just off with the whole rest of the setting and the atmosphere and everything with the story. It just seems a little bit off. And then we've had the exact same thing from the aunt as well, as we're building up to kind of finding out what's going on, and she's investigating these other missing women and she thinks that everything is connected and she's hunting a hunter. So it's very dark. And then she just like has this moment of, oh no, I'm going to die a virgin. It just seems really misplaced and forced within the story and doesn't really contribute anything. I don't feel like it's told us more about Vivian than we needed to know, and I don't feel like it's told us more about Carly. It just seems like a really odd thing to then shoehorn into the plot, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's a couple of things where I'm like, I'm not sure that I'm quite enjoying it, and also there is not that much of the book left and I have quite a lot of questions about what has gone on and how it's gone on, and just lots of things that I would hope are going to be answered, but I'm not quite sure yet, so we'll see. Oh, there you are. Alright then. Am I boring you? Bye. I have to confess that it has been over a week since I finished the Sundown Motel, but I wanted to have my book club's discussion before I sat down and filmed my final thoughts on the book, largely because I am firmly sitting on the fence with this one. It's a solid 3 stars, I think, and I was interested to see whether my views would change during the discussion, which often they do. So there were elements of the book that I enjoyed and I could appreciate what the author was trying to do with some of the themes that she introduced. I liked the mystery element, I liked the atmosphere and the tension. For me, I thought that she got it just right in terms of the ghost supernatural element blended with the mystery. It worked perfectly well for someone like me who doesn't really like creepy stories. But equally, I thought there were elements that let the book down, the writing style being the main one. It was quite repetitive and it read much more like a YA than I was expecting for a book that isn't essentially YA. I also, although I could appreciate why Viv and Carly had experiences which quite closely mirrored one another, I also found it repetitive in that way as well, in that they were basically having the same experience, so you were basically reading the same story twice, and the lines did get blurred a little bit and it got a little bit samey as well, so that I thought was a little bit weak. I could definitely see this being a movie. It has the right level of high stakes and drama. As I say, I thought she got the supernatural element just right. But yeah, there were just things that let it down for me. The other thing is that she put in quite a lot of red herrings and I was left with a fair few questions at the end, and things which I think she could have wrapped up quite neatly considering the way that the rest of the book is resolved. So yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts and feelings. It was good. It didn't blow me away. In terms of the rest of the book clubbers, it was interesting because we had a real range of views and opinions, so from 5 stars right the way down to 2, which makes for a really interesting discussion. So really enjoyed that, and on the whole I thought it was just an alright book. I think if you like this type of book, you're looking for a mystery with maybe a little bit of a supernatural element but not so that it overshadows the rest of the story, then you might find this one really enjoyable. As I say, for me it was just a solid 3 stars. And that is it. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this autumnal vlog. Hope you are all keeping safe and well. Take care and I'll see you soon.